My name is Jeff Morgan, and as a follow-up to the previous video that was put out by the Coalition for Divorce Reform at www.divorcereform.us, the previous video dealt with the impact of divorce on children. This video is going to be called the Parental Divorce Reduction Act. When people talk about divorce reform, one of the big objections you get is, well, you can't force people to stay together who don't want to be married. You can't force them to be together. Well, actually you can, but I'm going to even accept that objection as being legitimate. So the question comes down to this: is it good for society to have more divorces, or is it better for society to have fewer divorces? More divorces or fewer divorces? And if you're an honest person, you would say, well, probably fewer divorces. If we could actually strengthen families and keep more marriages together, it would have a good effect on society. And that's what this Parental Divorce Reduction Act is about. It nowhere is saying, get rid of all divorce. It's saying, can we reduce divorce? I mean, this is an act that even the Texas Family Law Foundation should embrace. They should say, you know what, this is a good act. This will actually help the families. And the Texas Family Law Foundation attorneys that testify always talk about the cost to the litigants. We want to have quick and easy divorce so it doesn't cost them too much money. Well, how about we reduce divorce, and that way they don't have to pay any money. And of course, the divorce attorneys probably will cry out loud because their cash flow will start to trickle perhaps. But this is a good act. And I'm going to read an overview of the Parental Divorce Reduction Act. Not elimination, Reduction Act. This is a reasonable proposal that makes sense, that every legislator, Republican and Democrat, every attorney, even those who profit off of divorce, every judge, every person in the state of Texas should say, you know what, this sounds good, it makes sense. We should be behind this. The Parental Divorce Reduction Act is a proposal merely to reduce unnecessary divorce. Unnecessary divorce, what do you mean by that? Well, there have been a number of studies that have been done that have shown that people even deeply involved in the divorce process would like to get out of the divorce process. Often it's the attorneys that keep inflaming things or putting fear in the parent's mind to say, if you do this, if you do that, they're going to come back and they're going to really screw you over. You've got to fight for this divorce. So the attorneys help to facilitate divorces that never needed to happen. And we all know people that have been in that position. We all know people that have said, I wish I wouldn't have gotten divorced. I wish I would have delayed things. I wish we would have tried harder. Maybe one more chance. This is to help people like that are saying, we need help. We don't want to get divorced. How can we actually survive this? Is there a way to reduce divorce for the sake of our families, for the sake of our marriage, for the sake of society? There is a large consensus of studies, and I should say a very large consensus of studies, that finds that divorce has serious negative lifelong psychological consequences for children. In addition to that, it costs you, the taxpayer, billions of dollars annually. One study in 2008 by Edward Scafidi, an economist, put the estimate at $112 billion annually. Not the cost of the people getting divorced, the taxpayer cost of divorce and unwed childbearing, that you are subsidizing divorce with your tax dollars. $112 billion a year. That was in 2008. And he also said that was a very conservative number. He thought it could have been more like $165 billion. And 10 years later, it's probably closer to $200 billion. In the state of Texas, it was approximately $4 billion back in 2008. Currently, it's probably between $5.5 and $6 billion. So this is an economic thing that makes a lot of sense as well. You can reduce the taxpayer burden by reducing divorce. It's as simple as that. All of these people that say we want our taxes cut, I can give you an easy way to cut taxes right off the bat, and it doesn't have to have any legislation. Reduce divorce. Right now, as a taxpayer, you are subsidizing divorce, and you are subsidizing unwed childbirth. You're not being told that, but you are. So the goal of this act is to reduce unnecessary divorces where children are involved. Because what you'll find is in divorce, the impact on children has a long-term repercussions, and you, the taxpayer, will end up footing the bill for a lot of these things. You might think that somebody's marriage is of no concern to you. It's hitting your pocketbook. Just remember that. Before filing for divorce, parents of minor children will be required to participate in 4 to 8 hours, and 4 to 8 hours may seem like a minimal amount. It is a minimal amount, but it's a start. 4 to 8 hours of face-to-face divorce education classes. The classes will provide information on the effects of divorce that it has on children, on adults. It will help to teach communication and other relationship skills that help to strengthen marriages. And by the way, in California, when no-fault divorce was introduced, the reason for no-fault divorce was to actually facilitate classes like this so that marriages could be saved, not so that we would create divorce on demand. After completing the classes, the parents will need to wait an additional 8 months before they can get a divorce, a period that may serve as an opportunity for reflection and reconciliation. So again, we're trying to reduce divorce. Reducing divorce would be good for families, for children, and for society. Exceptions are made, by the way, for a spouse who was physically abused, who has been abandoned for 18 months, who'd married to a partner who was incarcerated for 5 years, or married to someone addicted to alcohol or drugs, and who refuses to seek treatment and rehabilitation. Well, certainly something like this would cost the state money. The legislation is budget neutral. It requires the divorcing parties to pay for the cost of divorce education. The cost of the couple should be modest and should not exceed $100 to $200. So even if the couples have to pay for it by themselves, $200, it's a nominal cost. And if they could save a marriage, save a family, it would be well worth it. And by the way, otherwise, you as a taxpayer will pay much more than that for their divorce. Online education modules will be made available for persons in rural areas or elsewhere who do not have access to face-to-face divorce education. So how did they come to this approach? It was based on studies that found that at least a third of divorcing couples reported interest in reconciliation, and the promising results from evaluation of marriage education programs, which have now been launched in all 50 states. So states have been launching the programs to help people with their marriage. This would be a program to help them understand the consequences of divorce and slow things down, perhaps save the marriage, save the family, reduce taxpayer costs, and also increase the mental and physical health of their children long term. Thank you.